We've all had those moments as parents where we feel like we lost it. It was out of control. We said things we didn't really mean. And then we walk away, and then we have those calm moments. What I want to talk about tonight is, what do you do when you're calm? This is after you have the outrage, or it might be a silent outrage, something that you didn't express, but you certainly felt it deep down. Hi, everyone. I'm Gabe, and this is Starfish Parenting Podcast, where we have real talk, real conversations, and real growth as a parent. This is a space for parents to go to not feel alone, because it can be a lonely journey. So, we're going to talk about what happens after the event. A couple things happen. Parenting feels loud. And when it gets loud, we tend to respond in ways that we normally wouldn't respond. This is where we say things that we don't necessarily mean, or we even think things that we don't necessarily want to think, and then we feel terrible about it. But that's how our brains work. We go to that, we call it the downstairs upstairs brain, and the upstairs is where you're using logic, and the downstairs is when you get upset. Your brain goes in protective mode. And when you get in protective mode, sometimes it's survivor mode, sometimes it's the fight or flight. So all that comes out. So that's what I mean when I say sometimes parenting feels loud. It's sometimes we respond right away, and that's where we can get our that's when we can get in trouble. That's where we can damage the relationships. That's when you feel bad about things that you've done, and that's when it becomes tough. So let's talk about the different things after that. So what you need to do is have the calm first. It's hard to do in the moment, but if you can calm and take a pause, that's the only way you're really going to be effective as a parent, effective as a caregiver. It won't happen until you stay calm. You can think rationally, so you're not in the downstairs brain. You're now in the upstairs brain, and you can think logically, and you can think about the different steps that you need to take to rectify some of the things, rectify your kid's behavior, or even rectify your own behavior and responses. It's not a good feeling as a parent when you say things about your kids, where if somebody else said that, you'd have an issue with it. But we've all been there. We've all been there as a parent, and it is natural. The key is to not, obviously not act on them, or try to not convey that to your child. Also, when you're in that state, advice, it just fails. It fails when emotions are high. You can't really hear any advice. So what I'm hoping is, if you're listening to this podcast, you're in a different state. You're not in a heightened state. You're in a much calmer state. You're in that upstairs brain, and you're actually able to listen to some logic. Whether the advice is good or not, when you're in a heightened state, you can't hear any of that advice. So that's kind of a lesson to you when your kids are in a heightened state and you're trying to tell them to do things. They're not going to listen to you. The key is calm first. Then we can move from that. But when your emotions are high, you tend to do things that you don't necessarily want to do and aren't necessarily proud of doing. So after the calm, after you've calmed down, you either feel bad or you're thinking or you're reflecting. And remember, if you're reflecting, that's a good thing. That's progress. Listening to a podcast like this, it's progress. So don't beat yourself up if you've been there. We've all been there. We've all been in a state where we may not love our kids as of their actions. Let me restate that. It's not that we don't love our kids. We don't love their choices or their actions. Because I think deep down we all truly do love our kids. But they can drive you to the point where you don't feel good about being their parent. Let's be honest. So it's very important to get to the calm stage so you're able to go ahead and get to the reasonable stage and have conversations that can actually produce some results. After you're calm and you want to engage again, just you take you have one clear choice, and one clear sentence. That's what you want. You want to get it back down to that level of, okay, you said some things, I said some things. Let's get back to the heart of the matter. I don't like when you talk to me like this. And when you do, this is the way it makes me feel. And unfortunately, these are sometimes how I react. That's huge for repairing, but you can't repair if you're at a heightened state. So you really need to be at a calm state before you can even think about either repairing or addressing. That's huge. But in the overall factor here is that you need to be steady for your child. You need to be this steady adult. That's what our kids want. They don't want perfection. You're gonna mess up. I tell everybody all the time, I'm gonna ruin the end of the movie for you. You're gonna make mistakes. It's not so much the mistake you make, it's what do you do after the mistake. And that's the key. You know, if you have a bad relationship, or you feel like you did some damage, or you said some things, the worst thing you can do is double down on it. You can't go to the kid and blame them for it. Remember, you are the adult. And trust me, they do things that can get us to that point. But at the end of the day, they're counting on you to be the steady adult in their lives. It's really, unfortunately, it's on us, whether it's fair or not, whatever you might be thinking at this point, but it's on us. We're the adult in their lives. We are what sets safety for them, and we have to be steady. We don't have to be perfect. I'm certainly not perfect, but we have to be steady. And we have to keep striving, because if we don't do that and we're not steady for them, it's a whole different ballgame. And that could be a 3-hour podcast on the results of that. But at the end of the day, your goal as a parent is to be the steady adult in your kid's life. Not perfection, present. Be present, and it makes a world of difference. If this podcast resonated for you, go ahead and subscribe. I have a couple other episodes, but if this resonated with you, or if you feel like if this resonated with you, go ahead and click subscribe. If you think somebody would enjoy this and it can resonate with them, please feel free to share. I love the feedback since I got back into it. It's been great. Subscriptions have gone up. Views have gone up. So thank you. I appreciate it. And it makes me want to keep going with this. So, yeah. Steady, present. It's not easy. You're not alone. That's what Starfish Parenting is about. If this all resonates with you, send me a message. Let's talk. Maybe I can help you out further. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Have a good night.